she screamed from across the fence. "You're trespassing on our property." I stared at the deep trench they were digging around my home and clenched my fists. "This is my land," I said, my voice low but shaking with anger. The sound of the backhoe roared again, mud flying into the air as two men in neon vests laughed like it was a game. They had done it overnight. A full trench dug in a circle around my house like some kind of siege. The kind you see in war movies, not suburban neighborhoods. I stepped over broken pieces of my driveway, my boots sinking into wet soil. "Turn that machine off," I yelled. Karen, the self-declared HOA president, didn't even blink. "You'll regret raising your voice to me," she said coldly. "This area is under HOA regulation now. You refuse to pay fees, so we've started the boundary work." Boundary work. That's what she called it. A 6-foot deep moat of mud cutting off my driveway, my water line, and the small vegetable patch I'd built with my late wife. My blood boiled, but I stayed calm. "You don't have authority here," I said. She smiled in that cruel, satisfied way that made my stomach turn. "Oh, you'll find out how much authority we have." Then she turned to her workers. "Keep going. He can call whoever he wants." The sound of the machine drowned everything else. It was chaos, earth-shaking, mud splattering my porch. I took out my phone, recording. One of the workers tried to block me with his hand. "No cameras, man. HOA orders." That's when I smiled. The first real smile I'd had in weeks. "Don't worry," I said. "Cameras are already rolling." They didn't know. Every inch of my property, every fence post, every corner of the yard was under 24/7 recording. Not regular cameras either. Motion-triggered, time-stamped, all linked to a cloud drive I'd set up years ago when people started trespassing after my wife passed. I never told anyone, not even the neighbors. Karen noticed my calm face and frowned. "What's funny?" I took a slow step forward. "You'll see." The next few minutes felt unreal. The workers hit one of my underground pipes. Water burst out like a geyser. My porch was soaked, the trench filled with muddy water. Karen screamed, "Stop the digging! Shut it off!" But they couldn't. The damage was done. I took a deep breath, steadying my phone. "This is vandalism," I said quietly. "You'll answer for this." She stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You think anyone will believe you? You live off-grid. You're a nobody. You've been refusing HOA rules for months. The police are already on my side." That's when I realized she'd already called them. Sirens echoed from down the road. My heart pounded not out of fear but rage. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about control. 2 patrol cars rolled in, lights flashing. Karen waved dramatically like she was in a parade. "Officer!" "That's him. He's aggressive. He threatened my crew and damaged HOA property." I froze. One of the officers approached me, hand on his belt. "Sir, can we talk over here?" Karen smirked behind him, whispering to the other cop. I could almost read her lips and arrest him, but I stayed calm. "I had proof." The officer asked, "Did you interfere with their work?" "No," I said. "They're digging on my land." Karen barked out a laugh. "Your land? This entire block is HOA regulated." I turned my phone toward the officer. "You might want to check this first." He frowned, glancing at the video. It clearly showed the workers crossing my boundary line, the no trespassing signs, the property stakes with my name, and Karen giving the order to dig. The second officer's face changed. He looked up at the trench, then back at her. "Ma'am, do you have a permit for this excavation?" She hesitated. "It's under community development rights, and show me the papers." Karen's confidence faltered. Her phone slipped slightly in her hand. I don't have them on me." "They're at the office." I could feel the shift, that tiny moment when the liar realizes the story is collapsing. I folded my arms, watching her fake composure fade. The officer turned to me again. "Sir, we'll need to verify property records before proceeding. Please don't leave the area." "I'm not going anywhere," I said softly. "I've got everything saved." "Every minute of this," Karen snapped. "He's lying. Those videos are fake." I locked eyes with her. "They're time-stamped and cloud-stored. You really should have checked the cameras before digging around my home." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. The officers walked away to make calls. Karen stood still, her perfect suburban mask cracking for the first time. In that silence, I whispered the line that had been stuck in my head since the moment they started. "You tried to bury me in a trench, Karen, but you just dug your own hole." Karen paced near her car, whispering frantically on her phone while the officers examined the flooded trench. I could hear bits and pieces of her voice. Get someone from zoning. No, now, he's got footage. Her perfect calm was gone. The same woman who acted like she owned the whole neighborhood was suddenly scared of losing control. One of the workers approached her quietly. Ma'am, should we pack up? Karen hissed. No, keep digging the side near the fence. Just make it look like we were repairing drainage. She really thought she could twist the story even with the police right there. I wanted to laugh, but my chest felt tight. My late wife used to tell me, don't let anger blind your strategy. I kept my voice level and waited. A few minutes later, one of the officers came back. Sir, we called the county office. According to the assessor's map, this land, including that trench, is on your parcel. Karen turned pale. That's impossible. Oh, documents, the officer interrupted. The county doesn't recognize an HOA jurisdiction here. Silence. The sound of dripping water from the burst pipe echoed between us. Karen's face twisted into something dark. You tricked us, she whispered. I looked at her calmly. No, Karen, you tricked yourself, her eyes narrowed. You think this is over? You think a few videos will save you? You have no idea who you're dealing with. She stormed off toward her car and slammed the door. For a moment I thought she'd leave, but she didn't. She just sat there, engine running, staring at my house like a predator waiting for another chance. The officers made their reports and told me they'd forward everything to the county investigator. Try not to engage with them, one said before leaving. I nodded, though both of us knew that was impossible. Karen wasn't the kind of person who backed down. That night I barely slept. My land was half flooded. Power lines messed up from the digging and the trench surrounded my home like a scar. But something about her last look bothered me. It wasn't fear, it was calculation. Just before dawn, motion alerts pinged on my phone. I opened the security feed. 2 figures, flashlights moving through the mist near the trench. They were covering something with tarps. One of them was Karen. I turned on my porch light. The beam caught them instantly. Hey, I shouted. They froze. Karen lifted her head slowly, eyes gleaming in the light. Still spying, huh? She yelled. That's illegal surveillance. You're trespassing at 4 a.m. I shot back. She stepped closer to the trench, her shoes sinking into the mud. You can't prove what you saw. No one's going to believe some crazy ex-soldier living off the grid. My breath caught, she knew. That part of my life wasn't public. I'd never told the neighbors, never told the county. How the hell did she find out? I stayed silent, my hand gripping the porch rail. She smiled faintly. Yeah, I know who you are. Retired Navy, I looked you up. Her tone was mocking, but I could hear the tremor beneath it. You think your past makes you special? Around here, HOA rules are the law. I stared at her for a long moment. Then your law's about to meet mine, I said quietly. She flinched like she didn't understand what I meant. But I didn't need to explain. I had every recording backed up. Every voice, every face, every step on my land stored and synced. By sunrise, those files were already sent to 3 people. My lawyer, a local reporter, and an old friend from the sheriff's department. By mid-morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. The footage had spread. Someone had posted it online, the trench, the yelling, Karen's fake authority. And people were furious. The video was everywhere. Comments were flooding in. That's illegal. Who does she think she is? That man deserves justice. I walked outside, staring at the muddy ring around my home. A drone hovered above, local news. For the first time in days, I felt something close to hope. Then my gate rattled. Karen stood there again, hair messy, sunglasses hiding her face. Take it down, she demanded. You'll regret this, I tilted my head. Regret justice? She stepped closer, voice trembling with anger. You don't understand. I didn't do this alone. The board was involved. If this goes public, we all... She stopped herself, realizing she'd said too much. I raised my phone slowly. Say that again? Her expression froze. You wouldn't dare. Try me, I said. She turned and ran toward her car, but not before I caught her last words through the camera mic. You don't know who signed those papers. You think it's me, but it's someone bigger. My stomach sank. So it wasn't just her. Someone higher in the HOA chain had ordered this. Someone powerful. And that's when I realized, as this trench wasn't about land, it was about forcing me out before something bigger came to light. I looked at the muddy water at my flooded porch and muttered, all right, If they want a war, they picked the wrong guy. By the next day, I wasn't the quiet guy on the edge of town anymore. I was the veteran who caught the HOA on camera. News vans lined the street.
Neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years peeked from behind curtains, pretending they were just taking out the trash. But none of that mattered to me.
What mattered was what Karen said. Someone bigger. I replayed the footage again and again, zooming in on the trench work, on the clip where she whispered orders to one of the men. He wasn't a regular worker. His jacket had a small logo on the sleeve, something metallic and unfamiliar. I paused, enhanced the image. It read Black Ridge Development Group, a real estate company. I'd seen the name before, in letters offering to buy my property for community expansion. Letters I'd ignored. That's when it hit me. The trench wasn't random intimidation. It was step one of a plan to make the land unlivable. So I'd have no choice but to sell. I drove down to the county office that afternoon, trench mud still on my boots. The clerk, a nervous young guy, recognized me instantly. "Sir, you're the guy from the video, right?" "Yeah," I said. "I need copies of any development permits filed near Ridgeview Lane." He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder. "You'll need clearance from the zoning manager." "Then get him." Minutes later, a man in a pressed gray suit came out. Mid-50s, polished smile. "Mr. Hayes, I'm Mr. Lowell, zoning supervisor." "What seems to be the issue?" I slid a printed photo of the trench across the counter. "This. I want to know who approved it." He barely looked. "Ah, yes. That's part of a drainage assessment project. HOA requested temporary access. Without my consent?" He gave a careful smile. "Your lot was marked as pending acquisition under the community's redevelopment plan." My stomach dropped. "Pending acquisition?" "I never sold it," he shrugged. "Paperwork indicates otherwise." I stared at him, disbelief turning into fury. "You're saying someone forged my signature?" He didn't answer. Just closed the file slowly and said, "Maybe take it up with the HOA board." That's when I knew. He was in on it. I walked out, fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. Karen was just the face. The real game was money. Big developers using the HOA as their mask. By evening, I got a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Hayes," a calm male voice said, "we can still settle this peacefully. Sell the land. We'll cover the damages and throw in a bonus." I stayed silent. "Otherwise," he continued, "things might escalate. We wouldn't want another incident like last night." My blood went cold. "What do you mean, incident?" The line clicked. I ran outside, heart hammering. One of my motion sensors was down. The side camera feed was black. I sprinted to the back fence, tire tracks, fresh ones, deep in the mud. Someone had been here again. I went inside, locked the doors, and pulled up my internal feeds. Every camera still live was scanning, until one caught movement near the trench. A shape. Someone crouching, placing something metallic into the mud. I zoomed in. It wasn't a tool. It was a box. Wires, blinking light. "What the hell?" I whispered. Before I could move, a blinding flash burst from the trench. Not an explosion, but a smoke blast, thick and white, covering the yard. My alarms went crazy. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped to the porch. Through the smoke, I saw silhouettes. 2 men running, jumping over the fence. The smell of burnt plastic filled the air. I rushed down, coughing, and found the box half melted, covered in mud. It wasn't a bomb. It was a signal jammer, meant to block my cameras. They were trying to erase evidence. I called the sheriff's office immediately. The deputy on duty sounded cautious. "We'll send someone over, but you've stirred up something big, Mr. Hayes. There's talk this land's been in dispute for months." "Dispute?" I snapped. "It's mine." "Been mine for 15 years, he sighed. "Not according to some folks up in zoning. Be careful who you trust." When I hung up, I looked out at the fog still hanging over the trench. Somewhere beyond that line was a group of people who wanted me gone, badly enough to send men to sabotage my home. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the porch with my flashlight and my old service pistol on the table beside me. Not loaded, just there. A reminder that I wasn't helpless. At dawn, the first rays of sun cut through the haze, revealing footprints leading to the far end of the fence, and a fresh sign hammered into the ground. Property condemned. HOA Development Project. Phase 1. My jaw tightened. They were escalating again and fast. But what they didn't know was that the smoke hadn't blinded all my cameras. One of the hidden units, the one wired through the solar panel near the shed, had caught everything: the van's license plate, the men's faces, and the box placement. I uploaded the footage and sent it straight to a contact who owed me a favor. Detective Aaron Cole, my old SWAT trainee. Within an hour he texted back, "Recognize the driver. Ex-county contractor. This goes deep. Don't confront them yet." I stared at the message, then looked out at the trench circling my home like a scar. "No," I whispered to myself. "They started this. But I'm ending it." By morning, I had every camera feed backed up and every file triple encrypted. What started as a trench around my home had turned into something far bigger: corruption buried under paperwork and fake authority. Detective Cole arrived before sunrise, his unmarked car pulling up quietly by the gate. He looked older than I remembered, but his eyes still had that sharp SWAT focus. "You sure you want me involved, brother?" he asked, stepping through the mud. "I didn't ask for a war," I said, "but they brought it to my door." He nodded, looking around at the trench, the signs, the wreckage. "You've got enough here to bury them legally, but it won't be pretty." "I'm not after pretty," I said. "I'm after truth." Cole spent an hour reviewing the footage I'd saved. When he saw the van, his jaw tightened. "That's Blackridge's private crew. They've been flagged before for illegal land seizure jobs. Karen's name shows up on some of the invoices. So she was taking money from them? Commission, maybe. Or hush money." He looked up at me. "You've got gold here, but we'll need the right people to see it." That's when I told him I'd already sent copies to the local news outlet, and one to a federal property crimes investigator in D.C. I wasn't going to let this disappear into some county drawer. By noon, the story had exploded online. HOA and developer accused of land grab scheme. Cameras rolled. Reporters swarmed the street. Karen's house was surrounded by media vans. She tried to come out once, waving papers, shouting, "It's all fake!" But no one listened. Then came the sound I'd been waiting for. Police sirens, not for me this time. They stopped right in front of her house. Officers stepped out, warrant in hand. The look on her face when she realized it was real. That was the moment everything came full circle. Cole watched from beside me. "Feels good, doesn't it?" I didn't answer. I just watched as Karen, the woman who once screamed I'd be arrested on my own land, was now being handcuffed on hers. But it wasn't over yet. That afternoon, the county zoning head, Mr. Lowell, was also taken into custody. Charges of forgery, bribery, and unlawful development. Blackridge Development CEO resigned within hours. Right after their offices were raided, the whole thing unraveled like a rotten thread. Reporters wanted interviews. Networks wanted exclusive rights, but I turned them all down. I didn't want fame. I wanted peace. That night I walked out to the edge of the trench. It was quiet now. No machines, no shouting, just the wind moving through the trees. The reflection of my porch light shimmered in the water that still filled the ditch. Cole joined me, hands in his jacket. "You know they'll fill this back up soon. County says they'll restore your land and pay for everything." "Let them," I said. "But I'm leaving it for a while," he frowned. "Why?" I looked at the muddy circle around my house. "Because it reminds me what happens when people think they can own someone's freedom." He nodded slowly, understanding. Before he left, he said quietly, "You didn't just win this one, brother. You exposed a whole system. Folks online are calling you the Trench Man." I chuckled softly. "Not the title I wanted," he smiled. "Sometimes heroes don't get to choose the titles." After he drove off, I sat on the porch, listening to the quiet hum of crickets. The trench gleamed faintly under the moonlight. A scar. Yes, but also proof that when you stand your ground, truth eventually digs deeper than lies. I thought about my wife again, how she used to say, "You can build walls, or you can plant roots." I finally understood what she meant. This land, this home, it wasn't just dirt and wood. It was memory. It was mine. The next morning I posted one final video, just me standing by the trench saying, "They tried to scare me with a hole around my home, but all they did was dig up their own corruption." Don't ever let anyone tell you you don't belong on your own land. It went viral in hours, not because of drama, but because of truth. And as the sun rose over the water-filled trench, I finally smiled, not because I won, but because I was free again. Viral quote, "They tried to bury me in a trench, but all they did was uncover their own lies."